Alright, so for our next topic, we're going to be covering circles, central angles, and arcs. So all the points of a circle are the same distance from a point called the center. So here's our center right here. And so we'll call this circle P because they label the center with the letter P. Okay. The next one here, you have your radius. So your radius is the distance from any point on the circle to the center. And this is called the radius. So any point on the circle can be anywhere, as long as it goes from one of the outsides to the center. Okay. Next is going to be your diameter. So your diameter is a segment that has its endpoints on a circle and passes through the center. Okay, so it goes from one end to the opposite end, but it has to pass through the center. Okay, your central angles. So you have central angles, and your central angles are an angle whose vertex is the center of the circle. So that you create like a little angle in here. All right. So the circle graph shows the number of hours Laura spends on each activity in a typical weekday. Use a graph to find each of the following. So this is her typical weekday. She sleeps, she goes to school, she does her homework, she gets on the computer, she talks on the phone, and she does other stuff. All right, so the sleeping is 35%, okay? The school is 30%, homework, and so on. So one whole circle, if we're looking for the angles or the degrees, one whole circle all the way around is 360 degrees. Okay, so the first one here is asking us for A and B. So here is A to M to B, which is 35% of the circle. So we're going to set up a proportion, okay? So it's 35% of the circle, which is out of 100. Now we want to know how many degrees it is out of the whole circle, and like I said, the whole circle is 360 degrees. Okay, so to solve, we're going to go ahead and cross multiply. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply 360 times 35. Let me get my calculator. There it is. So 360 times 35, that gives me 12,600. Okay, equals, and then 100 times x is 100x. So to solve for x, we divide by 100. When I divide by 100, this gives me 126 degrees. Okay. Now the next one, we're looking for angle BMC. So B to M to C is 30%, not 30 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and set up a proportion. So we have 30 out of 100 equals x out of 360. So we cross multiply, and that gives us 1080 for 10,800 equals 100 times x is 100x. So to solve for x, we divide by 100, and we get 108 degrees. Okay, moving on to the next section. So CMD. So here's CMD, which is 10%. Okay, so here I'm going to go ahead and do 10 out of 100 equals x over 360, and we go ahead and cross multiply. So 360 times 10 is 3,600 equals 100 times x is 100x. Then to solve for x, we're going to go ahead and divide by 100, and we end up getting CMBD is 36 degrees. Now the next little section. So here we have from E to D is 5%. So we're going to do 5 out of 100 equals x out of 360. We cross multiply. 360 times 5, that gives us 1,800 equals 100 times x. We divide both sides by 100, and this is going to give us 18 degrees. Okay. EMF happens to also be 5%. So I'm not going to work it out again because it's 5%, it's going to give us the exact same number of degrees, so 18 degrees. And so the last one is for her other section. So other is 15%. So I am going to go ahead and set up my proportion. It's 15 out of 100 equals x out of 360. We cross multiply, so 360 times 15 gives me 5,400 equals 100x. We divide by 100 to solve for x, and we we end up getting 54 degrees. Okay, so we're taking that whole piece of the pie and just setting up a proportion. All right, so this next section, it says an arc is part of a circle. The measure of an arc is a measure of the corresponding angle. So you have what we call a minor arc. So your minor arc is an arc that measures less than 180 degrees. So for example, from here to R to S is a minor arc because it's less than 180 degrees. This is your little symbol for arc. It's a little arc on top of the RS, and it's considered a minor arc. All right, you have your semicircle. A semicircle is exactly 180 degrees, so you have XYZ is a semicircle. Okay, so they use 3 letters here for 2 reasons, so that you can know that this is not a minor arc. They're using 3 letters, and also to tell you which semicircle they're talking about, because you have the top half and you have the bottom half, okay? So in order for you to know which half they're talking about, that's why they give you 3 letters. They go from X to Y to Z in that order. So you have to connect those dots in that order. That will tell you which direction you're talking about. Okay, then we have our major arc. So major arc is an arc that measures more than 180 degrees. Okay, so it's going to be more than half a circle. In this case, they have arc CFE, so they use 3 letters to tell you that it's bigger. Okay, and it is considered a major arc. So you have to go from C to F first. So we can't go C to E first. We have to go in the opposite direction because the F comes first. So C to F to E, okay, in the way that they labeled it here. So this is your major arc because it's more than 180 degrees. So here it says find the measure of each arc in circle C. All right, so they give us some information. Oh, sorry. There. So they tell us that this little angle in here is 20 degrees, okay? Then they also tell us that this little angle right here is a right angle. So that means that that angle there is going to be 90 degrees. So if that little piece is 70, then this little, 20, I just said the answer. If that little piece is 20, then this little piece is going to be 70. Because 70 plus 20 gives me 90. Okay. Then looking at the next little section, we can figure out what this little section is. If you notice, this angle here with the 70 should make 180 degrees because for one, it makes half a circle. It also makes a straight angle. So what 80 plus one number gives us 70. 70 plus one number gives us 180. And so that number is going to be 110 degrees. Okay. Now looking at this top half, so if we're looking at this angle right here, this angle with the 20 degrees is going to give us 180 because they make a straight line, or it's a semicircle. So 180 minus 20 gives us 160 degrees. Okay, so now we're ready to answer the question. So the first one's asking us for arc BE. Okay, so arc BE is this little piece right here. So that arc measure, now the arc measure and the central angle are going to be the exact same number. Sorry, I forgot to point that out. So it should be the exact same number. So that is 70 degrees. Okay, and it's only with the central angles. The next one is DAB. So here we start from D to A first. Okay, we can't go this direction to B first. You have to go through A first. So from D to A to B. So all the way around is everything except for this 20 degrees. So to find that, I'm going to take one full circle is 360, and I'm going to subtract that 20, and that's going to give me 240 degrees. Oh, I wrote in the wrong spot. 240 degrees. 360 minus 20. All right. The next one is asking from A to D. Here's A to D. We already found it. From A to D is 160 degrees. All right. The next one is asking us from D to A to E. So here's from D to A. So it's the 160 plus the 110. So the 160 plus the 110 is going to give me 270. So on the other one, we did the subtraction, the 360 minus 20. You could have done 360 minus 20 minus 70. It would have given you the same answer. But in this case, we did 160 plus 110. All right, from A to E. From A to E, we already figured out from A to E is 110. And then the next one, B to D to A. So from B to D first, and then around to A is half a circle. So that is going to be 180 degrees. All right, the next section, it says find the measure of each arc in circle O. So first here, they tell us that this is 36 degrees. So we have to use something that we learned prior to this, is that these two angles are vertical angles. So these two angles should both be 36 degrees. Okay. Now the next thing that we learned is this is going to be a semicircle, right? It's half a circle is 180 degrees. Okay. It's also a straight angle. So 180 plus whatever number it is going to, 180 minus the 36 will give us whatever this little number is. So let's do 180 minus 36. And that gives us 144. 144. All right, so then since this one is vertical angles with this one, this is also 144. All right. So now we're ready to answer the questions. The first one's asking us from P to Q. So here's from P to Q, which we said was 144. And then we have from Q to R. So this is Q to R. That's going to be 36 degrees. And then next is going to be S, P, Q. From S to P to Q is a semicircle. It's the top half, which is 180. The next one is P, S, Q. So P to S first and then to Q. So it's everything except for this 144. So I'm going to do 360 minus 144. That gives me 216. The next one from R to S. Here's R to S. We already found R to S. We said it was 144. And then the last one is R, P, and then Q. So we start from R, and we first have to go through P. So I can't go through the Q first. I have to go to the P first, and then around to the Q. Okay. So it's going to be everything except for that 36. So I'm going to do 360 minus the 36, because it's one full circle. And that gives me 324 degrees. All right. On the next part, it says find the measure of each arc in circle D. So here in circle D, they do give us this angle is 90 degrees. And then they tell us that this is the same as this. So one full circle is 360. I'm going to take away the 90, okay, because this part makes up for 90. And that gives us 270. And then I'm going to go ahead and divide that 270 into 2 because those two sides are the same. So 270 divided by 2 is 135 degrees. So 135, 135. All right, so let's go ahead and answer the questions. The first one says arc AB. So here's arc AB. We said is 90. That's what they gave us. We have arc AC, which is this arc right here, which we found to be 135. We have arc BC, which is the other side, which has to be the exact same measure as well, 135, because they used the little tally marks. They told us it was the same. And then last, we have arc ABC. So from A to B and then to C is all of them except for the 135. So I can add 135 plus 90. Or I could do 360 minus 135. Either way, it's going to give you the exact same answer. And that gives us 225, I believe. Let me double check in my calculator before I do it. Yeah. All right, so the next one here, it says two diameters of a circle T are PQ and RS. Find the following arc measure if the measure of arc PR is 35 degrees. Okay, so we're gonna have to draw the picture. And we have our circle. It is circle T, so that means this middle point is T. And then it says we have diameters PQ, so I'm gonna make one diameter. This is P, this is Q. And then we have another diameter RS, so from here to here. This is R and this is S. And then it tells us a measure of PR is 35 degrees. So from PR, this arc right here is 35 degrees. Okay, which means this is 35. So let's see. If that's 35, that means this one is also 35 degrees. And then to find this angle here, we can go ahead, since it makes a semicircle, we do 180 minus 35. That gives us 145. So this is 145, and this is 145. So then from P to S, we already found from P to S is 145. The next one saying from PRQ, so P to R to Q, that's a semicircle, so it's 180. We have PSR, so P to S to R. So we can either add these three angles that we cross, 145, 35, 145, or we can do 360 and subtract this one. So I'm going to do 360 minus the 35, just because it's less work. That's 325. And then the last one's asking for PRS. So let's see, from P to R first, and then to S. So everything except for the 145. So I'm going to do 360 minus 145, and it gives me 215. Now the last section is going to use a little bit of algebra. So here it says solve for x. So it's telling us this arc is 6x minus 8, which means this angle in here is 6x minus 8. They tell us that this angle right here is 140. So we know because they both together make a semicircle, they should add up to 180. So 6x minus 8 plus 140 equals 180. I'm going to combine my like terms, the negative 8 and the 140, and that's going to give me plus 132. I'm going to go ahead and get the x by itself by first starting to move the 132 to the other side by subtracting, and I get 6x equals 180 minus 132 gives me 48. Then we divide by 6, and 48 divided by 6 gives me 4. And that's it, because that's all we had to solve for was x. On this next one, they tell us to find the measure of PM. Okay, so let's see. The information that they give us is that this arc mark should be the same as this one by using this arc, the little arc marks, so the tallies. So I'm going to go ahead and set them equal to each other. Okay, so that's what they tell us. So that's what we're going to start with. So we subtract the 7x. This gives me 2x minus 21 equals 5. We add the 21. This cancels. We get 2x equals 21 plus 5 is 26. We divide both sides by 2. And we get x equals 13. Okay, but they're not asking us for x. Sorry. Nice. I boxed it. So then they want us to find the measure of PM. So we need to find this arc. Well, now that we know what x is equal to, I'm going to go ahead and plug it in here. So 7 times 13 plus 5. And that gives us 96. So that means this angle here is 96, and this one should be the same thing if we did this correct. So then these two together should make a half a circle. So I'm going to do 180 minus 96. That gives me 84. So that means arc PM should equal 84 degrees. And that's it for me today. Thank you. Bye.